why do we still have ICFs?
Honestly, I think that even within the settings rule, and I don't know it backward and forwards, Nick. However, the settings rule in its nature really is about providing option and choice.
Right.
So I think there's a place for ICFs in local developmental centers, the same way there's a place for community living in an apartment or in a house or whatever with roommates or by yourself if you want to be.
Welcome to the Nick Speaks podcast, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud for the disabled community. Tune in every Tuesday, and don't forget to subscribe. And now your host, Nicolas Comstock.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this brand new installment of the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I am your host, Nick Comstock. You guys, I am so glad you're joining me this morning on this Tuesday morning, the week before my birthday. That's besides the point, but it is St. Patrick's Day. I have green on. Our guest, unfortunately, does not, so somebody will have to pinch her, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Anyway, I'm so glad that you're here. We're going to talk about all things disability housing. We're going to talk a little bit about the property tax issue that is probably going to end up on the November ballot. We hope not. Anyway, and we'll explain why we hope not. But today I have an incredible guest who is a director of housing of people that specifically have autism. They have a few people that don't have autism, but this housing community is specifically built for people with autism. I have the director of Bittersweet Farms with me, Megan Thompson. Please help me welcome Megan Thompson to Nick Speaks. Megan, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Nick. Happy to be here on this wonderful Tuesday morning, and I am missing the green, so I'll make sure to ask somebody to pinch me at some point today. I'm sure somebody will take care of it.
Yeah, because you're all the way in Lucas County, so I can't do it. I have hands anyway, so it probably wouldn't hurt as much. So it needs to hurt a little bit. So I hope somebody at your organization pinches you without the penalty of getting fired for doing so.
Yes, for sure.
Great. So, Megan, you and I know each other because we are working on a housing project right now through DODD to try to improve. For those of you who don't know what DODD is, it's the Department of Developmental Disabilities here in Ohio. That's where Megan and I are both based. And we are working on a special housing work group and to improve housing for those that have developmental disabilities of all kinds. And I met Megan through there, and I said, man, she gave an impassioned speech at our last meeting. And I said, man, I want that fire on my podcast. So I grabbed her up and I said, come do an episode. So that's why we're here. Megan, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about you, our viewers and listeners, and what you do, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty, ask some questions, and have some fun.
Sure. So, as Nick said, my name is Megan Thompson. I'm the executive director out at Bittersweet Farms. I've actually been at the farm as an executive director for a little over a year and a half. But I had the opportunity to serve on the governance board previously for 3 years. So it was a really great introduction. Happy to be at the farm. I would say I do a little bit of everything here. I guess leading up to me being here, I was an intervention specialist, or some people call it a special education teacher, depending on what state you're from, for a little over 15 to 20 years, and worked primarily with individuals with autism levels 1 through 3, and then had the opportunity to teach at Bowling Green State University and run their master's autism spectrum disorders program for a little over 6 years.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. So, tell me a little bit more. Did you grow up around people with disabilities? How did how did this make you choose your work, or what made you choose your work and what you do now?
Yeah, actually, I kind of took a side door into autism. So originally, my grandfather was a veteran and lost his hearing while he was in the army, and I was very intrigued by learning sign language and ended up having some hearing loss myself in sixth grade. So I picked up sign language. I decided that I was going to go to get my bachelor's in educational interpreting for the hearing impaired, is what it was called then, and started working with the deaf community, which was a wonderful opportunity. While doing that, I worked for Massillon City Schools. I was actually at Massillon Middle School and worked with an individual that was deaf and autistic, and quickly realized that sign language was wonderful and it was beautiful and the deaf community was amazing, but my passion was clearly autism. So I went back to school for my master's in special education with a focus in autism spectrum disorders so that I could put myself in that opportunity category and ended up becoming a teacher. So I guess not directly with autism, but kind of took a side door that direction.
Right, right. What you said working with folks with autism really became a passion for you. What about folks with autism gave you such a passion for that particular field?
So honestly, I think for me, it came down to recognizing that everybody is different and there was no day that would be the same, and learning the different communication preferences and styles, and also how to support sensory needs, and recognizing the differences in independent skills and employment skills and daily living skills. I thoroughly enjoy having a unique day every single day. And you definitely get that when you work with the developmental disabilities community.
Yeah, you definitely do. You never know what's going to happen, especially when you work with somebody crazy like me.
Yeah.
And I don't have autism, and that just shows you how crazy people can be, regardless. Uh, Not that we're sitting here calling the autism community
No.
great, but yeah, I'm just saying. Um, so tell us, I love the name of your organization, Bittersweet Farms. When you gave your impassioned speech about people with disabilities having choice, I wanted to that day in that meeting say, "Oh, now I understand where Bittersweet Farms come from," but I didn't say that. I kept my mouth shut. Uh, Although I did think it would have made the whole room laugh. I So tell me where you got this name, because you said it in the pre-call and I just thought it was cool and awesome. So tell everybody where Bittersweet Farms, the name came from.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were founded in 1983 and we're out in White House, Ohio. And when they were looking at the land, there was Betty Ruth Kay, who was our founder, was with a couple of parents and they were walking the property. And there was a piece of bittersweet vine. And one of the parents said, "Oh, bittersweet. That's kind of like autism. It seems fitting." So that's where Bittersweet Farms came from, kind of that recognition that autism is bittersweet. There's parts of it that are wonderful and there's parts of it that are really challenging.
Yeah, yeah, as is with almost all disabilities. And I love that, especially that the name came from a parent who had lived experience, because it is bittersweet for a lot of parents who feel like they're losing their adult son or daughter who they've taken care of all this time and they thought they were going to take care of until they pass. And then they realize, oh, my disabled child doesn't even want to be with me all the time, let alone my able-bodied children. So, that's kind of bittersweet. And I love that name. So tell us, what makes Bittersweet Farms unique as opposed to another, set of apartments for people with disabilities or another ICF or facility? What makes you guys unique?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 3 locations between White House, Pemberville, and Lima, and we offer services across a variety of different pieces. So we have residential, we have recreational, we have a day program, we actually have employment services that we work with now, and we also support some school age individuals ages like 12 to 22. So we dabble in a little bit of everything. And one of the things that I think makes us so wonderful is the setup that we have here. So we focus greatly on intentional scheduling. So visual schedules, putting certain pieces in place to increase the opportunity for success. But we also focus on motivation. So what motivates each individual, and then giving those opportunities throughout the farm to let them do the things that are motivating to them. We are a fully functioning farm. So we have greenhouses. We actually have 8 greenhouses. We have a barn with goats. We actually just got a new goat. We've got a couple miniature horses. We have some cats. We have some ducks and chickens. And we have a culinary program. We have an art program. We have a groundskeeping program. So just a lot of different options that really focus on meeting sensory needs of individuals with autism, which is what makes it so that we can really support individuals with high support needs.
Wow. So that's awesome. And I told you in the pre-call that I want to come down and take a look, and I'm going to come down and take a look. Maybe we'll do a special episode in the future there. I would love to just see it. So you said you had a culinary program. So
We
do
do.
you, because you're on a farm, do you guys do farm to table, or do you keep the chickens and not really do something like that?
So we have a couple different things happening with culinary. So we have a supported employment program that actually goes off site to a commercial kitchen to create Bittersweet Farms cookies. And those are cookies that we actually sell in the community. We're very well known for our cookies in Northwest Ohio. Nick, the next time I see you at a DODD housing work group, I'll bring you some cookies so that you can try them.
April 30th. Come on now.
Yes. I'll have to send you the list. You can let me know which one's your favorite, which one you'd like to try the most.
Oh, bring me a sample of everything. Forget it.
So because we have scaffolded supports here, we have a kitchen skills class or program that happens on site. And these are skills where we are teaching individuals independent cooking skills. We do use items from the property to maybe cook things that we're sharing with people on the farm, but we also utilize the stuff from our greenhouses for our staff. So we have a food pantry here where we try to support our staff. We recognize that it's tough times, and any way we can support our team, we're going to. So we utilize that produce and put it in our food pantry for staff as well. But the goal is that individuals that are part of our, I guess, independent like kitchen skills class on the farm are learning the skills to hopefully be part of our supported employment program in the community, to start pushing them towards some community employment where they're able to, or if they want, that is an option.
Wow, that's awesome. I love this. I really do. So I want to ask you, you have 3 different types of living arrangements there. You have an ICF, you have residential, and what's the other one? I forgot.
The other one is our day program.
Your day program. So you don't really have 3 types of living. You have 2, and then you have a day program. So do you have 24/7 staff there?
So we do. I have an ICF on site with 20 beds, and I'll show a picture of that in just a second. Our ICF is 24/7 care, and it's more of a farmstead model. I'll share my screen really quick just so you can kind of get a visual of it. Okay, So this is our ICF. So you'll see 3 houses. So this is Co-op, Middle, and then Main is over here. They are very much farmhouses. They have pictures in the house.
Beautiful. Oh,
I think a lot of people, Nick, they hear ICF and they think white walls, curtains, very kind of hospital-ish, and that's definitely not the vibe that we have here. And then our community living, we have 2 HUD homes, and then we have an all-girls home on site, and they are 24/7 staff as well. So we provide an overnight and typically a sleep staff that is there in the event that there's an emergency or they need additional support.
okay, cool. And wow. And what's interesting about this is because now we're going to get into brass tacks of struggles with housing and some positives that I think we've talked about a lot of the positives that you have, and I love it. I want to get into some of the struggles because there is a reason why we have a work group going on right now. And I want to get into some of the struggles that you have. You said, you shared with me that you guys have a 180 person wait list for people to get on your program at Bittersweet Farms, and that there's issues with the state not allowing you to build more property. So I want to talk about that. We have so much to talk about that, and we're going to touch the property tax issue because you guys are going to hear me start to talk about this a lot because we have a major election coming up this November. It's the midterms, but here in Ohio, there's a potential that it'll be on the ballot to get rid of all property tax, and that really gut the disability system here in Ohio. But not only the disability system, it'll gut police, fire, school systems, library systems. It'll just completely, totally ruin everything. I'm not trying to scare everybody. I'm not one of those people that like to go on fear tactics. But if this takes place, if agencies like DODD and other places don't have something in place, we're really up a creek without a paddle. So we're going to talk about that today. So let's talk about some of the struggles you have, Meg, at Bittersweet Farms. Let's get into that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So obviously we support right around 38 individuals residentially on the farm. And we have a wait list. And I think I quoted you incorrectly before because I triple checked with my admissions team and we're right around 150 people on our wait list, not 180. So I think I quoted. It's still a really extreme number when you think about what we're offering here.
Yeah.
And basically where we're sitting is there's this pesky thing called a settings rule. And the settings rule from the federal level came down to the state level. And when the state put it in place, where we're sitting, we are not permitted to build additional residential properties on our site. So we have 80 acres of land, and we currently are utilizing about 40 of those 80 acres, and we cannot build more residential properties because our day program is on the same parcel of land as our residential property. So we are not able to expand residentially as of right now. We're obviously hoping for some adjustments there so that we can continue to expand and serve some more people residentially. But it's a struggle, and there's a lack of housing for individuals with developmental disabilities. And while we're working on it in our housing work group, Nick, you know, it's sometimes it's an uphill battle trying to figure out how to navigate the systems to get what we need to get those houses built.
It is. So do you have 40 acres of land not being used, or is that being used by your day program and you still have room to build?
So we have 40 acres of land that is a portion of what is not used is part of the woods. So we utilize some of it for like walking and sensory trails. We also share with Toledo Metro Parks Oak openings. Like we butt right up against them. However, within the 40 acres we are using, there are some parcels of that land that we could build additional housing on that we cannot currently.
Wow. And they're saying that because of the settings rule, because they don't want it to feel institutionalized.
That is correct. So I think the premise behind the settings rule was beautiful. It was the idea of person-centered planning, making sure individuals are getting the opportunity to have access to the community. However, as that interpretation has come down over the last 10 to 15 years, I guess 10 to 12 years, it's lost some of that feel and it's just kind of become more of like checking a box. So it just makes it a little bit more challenging.
So if we're going to follow the settings rule to a T, this is you and I talking. Why do we still have ICFs? In my opinion,
so I honestly, I think that even within the settings rule, and I don't know it backward and forwards, Nick. However, the settings rule in its nature really is about providing option and choice.
right.
So I think there's a place for ICFs in local developmental centers, the same way there's a place for community living in an apartment or in a house or whatever with roommates or by yourself if you want to be. I think the issue is that there's a whole spectrum of opportunities that kind of get lost in interpretation, right? It kind of feels like everything has to be community, and we forget that there's some individuals that function better in an intentional community where there's significant structured supports in place to help them thrive.
Right. And like you said, if a person with a disability wants to live in a community where they have other people that have their disability or similar disabilities, why is any state stopping them from letting that happen? I mean, I don't know anybody who's going to say, oh, yeah, I want to go into a nursing home. But if that's the case, of course, there's eligibility there and you had to do all that. Then why is it a whole problem with the settings rule? Or if someone like myself wants to live on my own, I shouldn't have to go live with roommates for 2 or 3 years like I did, in order for this to happen. Later today, I'll be testifying before the Ohio legislature today at 3:15 about the CCA rule. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it allows people like me to have extra funding to potentially live on our own. And I've been using that funding since 2021, and now we've gotten to a point where we need to expand it. So that's why I'm testifying later today in front of the Ohio legislature. And I'm so grateful for the honor. A little bit nervous, but I'll try to make all the people in the Ohio legislature laugh a little bit. So maybe they'll loosen up. It's at the end of the day, so maybe they'll be ready to go home and I can give them a little bit laughter. But yeah, people without disabilities have choice, to live where they want to live. And you don't have anybody saying to them, well, this is what we have for you. Sorry. And of course, choices are limited for everybody when it comes down at the beginning of, financial and what's best for that person. But I don't think the state should be able to make that decision. Ohio is person-centered for a reason. And so people with disabilities deserve the same choice as people without disabilities. What say you?
So I completely agree with you, Nick. And I know we've talked about this a lot. I think often to myself, we allow individuals that are of retirement age to choose if they want to live in a retirement village. They get the option to do that. We have veterans who in some states get to live in a veterans community. They have the option to do that. it feels like the disability community is faced with that additional discrimination of, we're not confident that you can make this decision for yourself, so we are going to help you make the decision. And in that, they've lost their voice, and that is not what the focus should be. It should be about individuals with developmental disabilities having that voice and being able to say, this is what I want, and this is where I want to be, and this is why. And if I don't have the skills to do that yet, then teach me the skills that I need with the supports so that I can do it. But don't tell me what I can and cannot do when I am that individual. So for me, this is about making sure that the voices of the individuals that I serve are heard. And that's a really hard thing when you're running an intentional community and the individuals that I serve thrive here and they want to be here. But this is not what the push is at a state level. The push is for more community and less intentional. So it complicates it.
Well, I mean, you can have as much community as, I mean, a community is people. It's not a setting. A community is people. And if you have a good community and a senior living facility or a senior living community, then that's where you have the best community. Same for the veterans or the disabled or the gay community, wherever. I mean, it, community doesn't determine the place you live doesn't determine your community.
Correct.
I think the people around you determine your community. I have a great community of people around me. It's a small community. I'm expanding it every day. It's a mixture of, people without disabilities, people with disabilities. All of my neighbors in my apartment are people with disabilities. That doesn't mean we're an institution. I don't feel institutioned. Although I will say that, the EMTs and other people, the firefighters, need to be well aware that every apartment building that you come into that houses people with disabilities specifically is not automatically a facility, because I've had many firefighters and EMTs in my apartment for various reasons. And one of the first questions they ask is, who runs this facility? And I'm like, you're not at a facility. You're at a apartment building. So yeah, there needs to be some, training there, and to let people know that every area that you go into with a person with a disability is not a facility. And everyone should have that choice. I know it feels like we're beating a dead horse, but this is what we're talking about today. Everyone deserves that choice to say, you know what? I feel like I would want to live with a mixture of people with disabilities, people without disabilities. And for me personally, Megan, I think I would do better with a mixture of people, so that, if something goes wrong, maybe someone without a disability would be able to help. Whereas if I fell out of my chair, another wheelchair user isn't going to be able to help. They're going to have to call someone who is non-disabled to help anyway. So, yeah. And, there was somebody, I was talking to somebody the other day. They were telling me about something. I don't know what it's called. It's a community here in Columbus. It's called Mini Grand or something in Grandview. It's like a disability community, and it's like to where they can just almost kind of, I don't want to say military base, but it's like they have everything there. They have restaurants, they have food courts, and it's like new apartments that they're building to where, people with disabilities, if they're in their chair, they don't necessarily need their staff to take them to McDonald's. They can go down them. And, that's perfect. I would love to live in a community like that. So yeah, so what are some of your other concerns? Let's talk about the property tax issue, because I briefly mentioned that. I want to talk a little bit about that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the property tax issue is a very large concern. I think property tax reform is something that could be beneficial. However, there is a push by a specific audience to completely remove property taxes. And what I think some people don't understand is that there are a lot of things that property taxes actually go to pay for. And you mentioned some of them kind of at the beginning, Nick. It's not just property tax and roads. Like, we're talking about service professions, firefighters, policemen. We're talking about school districts. We're talking about libraries. We're talking about providers for developmental disabilities that get waiver funding to support those individuals. So there's a lot at play here when we talk about property taxes. But there's also, I think it's important to acknowledge that some of it is out of hand and we do need some property tax reform. It's just going about it the correct way so that as a provider, we can continue to provide the services that we need, because property taxes go to fund county boards, and those county boards pay out a portion of waiver funding to providers that bill for waiver funding. So they're very integral to what we do here to support the individuals that we do.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And I did talk to another county superintendent on the phone the other day, said that the property tax thing at this point only had about 4,000 signatures and they needed a lot more to get certified. So, I'm not really worried about it. I think it'll be a huge push. It's a huge push for advocacy this year. We have the governor's race. We're trying to get the governor, the new governor, whoever it is, to understand the disability system and how we work things here, because Ohio is very unique. We're one of 3 states who still have county boards. And so, and the reason why, and you can help me with this, Meg, I believe the state pays like a 40% in waiver funding, and the county pays like 60% in
I
waiver.
think you're right. I think it's like 35-65. So for every dollar, it's like a 65-cent, 35-cent split.
Okay.
Maybe it's 60-40, but it's right around there. Yes, you're correct, Nick.
Yeah, 60-40. So, I mean, it's really important, and there should be other ways. And I guess that's where our housing group comes into play, is there should be other ways that we can get money outside of property tax. And so now we're being forced to look at this and say, okay, what can we do? And I'm hopeful that we'll come up with something, and I'm not one of those. I'm a man of faith. I'm not one of those that we're all gonna die,
Yeah.
I'm not one of those things. So I think it'll all work out. What are some of the do you guys have events like at Bittersweet Farms? Like, what do you do for fun out there at the farm?
Yeah, so we have quite a bit. So we do Music Vine on Fridays. So from, I believe it's October, but don't quote me on it. From October to March, we are indoors at a location in Grand Rapids, Ohio. But then from April to September, we actually do Music Vine out here at Bittersweet Farms in White House. We have a different guest musician that comes from the community of Northwest Ohio every week, and they volunteer their time, and we have a concert out here every Friday from 11:30 to 1-ish, right around there. And we get providers from all around Northwest Ohio that come. So sometimes we have over 100 individuals that are listening to music and singing along. I think the favorite, though, is truly karaoke. Everybody loves karaoke day. So we do that. And then we do once a year in June. It's the first Thursday in June. We do Celebrating Possibilities, which is our signature fundraising event, and bring in quite a bit of our philanthropic dollars that we use to kind of run things out here.
Wow, that's
We
awesome.
Yeah, we do a lot of different things. It's a great time. We're really busy. Our participants are in the community almost every day. We have community groups that they're going out to volunteer and check out metro parks and do some different work and some different activities. So we're pretty engaged in the community out here.
Yeah, you're kind of in a rural area, so
Yeah.
how does transportation work for you guys?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a fleet of over 18 vehicles. We might be up to 19, I believe. And we do transportation for individuals that are coming on site for day program, but also when we're going off site for events, we provide transportation through our fleet. We actually have done some grant work with ODOT to get some of our fleet vehicles, which has been incredibly helpful for us.
That's awesome. So when you do the music Fridays, I'm gonna have to come down and
That's going to have to be one of the days that you come. You're going to have to come on a Friday so you can see Music Vine and hang out. And
okay, but do you guys have food?
so I told you that I will get lunch together. I'll bring lunch in.
You guys
So we
put the music day?
so we don't provide food just because of dietary restrictions for
Oh, okay,
individuals.
okay, okay, okay.
However, I will do lunch together. I promise. I told you we'll do lunch together, Nick.
Okay,
And
all right.
And if it's before April 30th, you're going to get to come and choose the cookie that you want. And if it's after, you will have sampled them and I'll give you a dozen of the ones that you like.
Oh yes, we have to make
So,
it happen.
yes, of course. Yeah, you have to come out to Music Vine. It's absolutely wonderful time. We do it in our pavilion outside. It's wonderful.
And oh my goodness, I'm gonna come there and tour the apartments, and it's gonna be great. I'm not moving down there for anybody in the state that's listening because I know all of you, especially my case manager. I'm not moving. Uh, yeah, I'm going to look. I don't want to give anybody a heart attack who's on my team. So uh but anyway, so Megan, is there anything that we haven't covered about Bittersweet Farms that you would want to talk about before we wrap things up?
Hmm. No, I think the biggest thing, Nick, is that I just love your podcast and that you're giving an opportunity for people to come on and kind of talk about what the issues are and to speak about them, because I feel like it's so important that we're bringing those things to the table and giving them a voice, because that's the only way we're going to see change happen. So I just think that this is wonderful work that you do. And I love that you gave me the opportunity to be on and just kind of be part of this awesome work.
Well, thank you so much. I love the fact that you were on and that you're coming. How can people contact you? Now, we talked about, you have a wait list of 150 people. That's unfortunately, if you're in the disability system, I don't care what part you're in, you're going to deal with wait lists somewhere, somehow, some way. So that's just a part of life, and we have to learn to adapt, unfortunately. But how can people get a hold of you to learn more about Bittersweet Farms?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can always go to bittersweetfarms.org. Go to our website. There's a place where they can see services and contact information. They can actually apply for services to get on our wait list. And I always encourage people to do that, because our wait list, while it's long, if you're somebody that we currently serve, so you participate in our social recreation program in Northwest Ohio or anything like that, it actually could move you up the wait list because you're somebody currently served. So I would encourage anybody that's interested to check out bittersweetfarms.org. They can also email me at mthompson@bittersweetfarms.org. They can give us a phone call. We would love to bring anybody out for a tour and let them see the amazing campus that we have here.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I do have one question. We talked about a little bit about your cookies. Do you ship your cookies?
So I don't know that we ship them. They're in some stores here. We do online ordering and people can pick them up at the farm, but we don't ship them currently. However, Nick, I'm going to see you on the 30th.
Yes.
And I'm going to make sure you get a sample so then you can let me know which one you like. And if I'm in Columbus between now and then, I'll get your address so I can drop some off.
I know, but if they're really good, I'm going to encourage you guys to go on Shark Tank and get a deal because
The best part is that they're participant made cookies. So I don't know if we could handle Shark Tank. They always like expand people exponentially. And I don't know if we could handle that exponential growth, but I would love the opportunity to.
yeah, well, because if you guys follow me on TikTok, especially, that's where I talk a lot about food. But I never steer my audience wrong when it comes to food. So I'll have to, and I'm fat for a reason, okay? So I'll have to, come back in a couple weeks and be like, hey guys, I tried Bittersweet Farms cookies. They're awesome.
You need to do one of those influencer videos where you're like eating them in real time and giving like feedback about how you feel about them. But
I used to do that all the time, Megan. And I don't like the way I look when I eat on camera. So I'm conscious, but I need to get back to doing that because people actually do love that. Anyway, Megan, thanks for being here today. It's been so awesome. And I will definitely be down at Bittersweet Farms very soon. People are probably tired of me saying that in this podcast, but oh well, it's my podcast. So, you guys, thanks for joining me today. This is the Nick Speaks podcast, the podcast dedicated to the disabled community, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I am your host, Nick Comstock. I will see you next Tuesday for an all-new episode. Thanks again to our guest. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Nick Speaks podcast, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud for the disabled community. If today's conversation resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a new episode. You can find Nick across all platforms by visiting his link tree in the show notes. And please leave a comment to join the conversation. Until next time, keep speaking up, keep speaking out, and keep speaking loud.